Hey everyone, today we're going to look at chord inversions, what they are, why we use them, and then I'm going to go through two little exercises to get used to them under your fingers, and then we're going to finish with a 10-minute practice exercise where we learn all our major chord inversions. If you need to learn what your major and minor chords are, go back to my previous lesson in this playlist which explains how to make chords. A chord inversion is basically a rearrangement of notes. So if we have our C major here, we can rearrange these three notes. So this note pops up to the top there. We have an inversion of a C major chord. And we can do it once again. Move that up to here. Same notes but different arrangement. And then this one can go up here. So as you can see, that created three shapes: our root position shape, our first inversion shape, and our second inversion shape. And when we invert it up again, we're back to root position. So why do we learn chord inversions? The reason is this: when you're playing through a chord progression, like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, if I was just to play that in root position chords, notice how all these chords are jumping, so I've got to completely change my hand position for each chord. If I start applying inversions to this chord progression, my chords flow a lot smoother to each other, and it's smoother to the ear as well as being easier to play. So have a listen to Somewhere Over the Rainbow with chord inversions now. Notice that my left hand still has to jump around because the responsibility is to play all the root notes, but the chords in my right hand are much smoother when they're flowing to each other. So the same chords are being played, just a different arrangement of the notes there. Apart from it sounding smooth on the piano, I want you to think about it from an arrangement point of view. So if we had notes for a tenor, an alto singer and a soprano singer, if they were singing through Somewhere Over the Rainbow too, it's going to sound quite unnatural if they're jumping as well. But if those notes are arranged correctly, they don't have to jump their notes as far. I'll show you what I mean. Na, na. See how the singer there's only either staying on the same note or moving to a note next to it. The reason I wanted to explain that is sometimes you hear inversions being referred to as smooth voice leading. And that's the reason why, because if these notes were actually arranged for other instruments, then it's going to be much easier for those other instruments to play their part if the harmony is being arranged in inversions. For that reason as well, you might hear chord inversions being referred to as chord voicings. Okay, now you know what inversions are. We'll now dive into our chord inversion practice exercises. Let's start with this first one, and you can play straight along with me straight away as I'm explaining it here. This first exercise is to get used to the shapes under the fingers. So what we're going to do is use our C major scale, and we're just going to play root position chords up that scale. There will only be white notes in this first exercise. For these chords, you can use your thumb, your middle finger and pinky to play through all of them. Left hand will just play the root note. So here we go. Come back down. Good, that was the root position shape. Now we're going to do the exact same exercise but with the first inversion shape. But remembering that our left hand is still on the root note. So even though our bottom note is now E, we still are thinking in terms of C here. Here we go in our first inversion shape. And excellent. Now we'll do our second inversion shape. Starting on that one there. Here we go. Great. So that exercise is designed to get those patterns, those shapes, really familiar under the fingers so they can come out naturally later on. If you found that challenging, just stop the video now and just keep repeating that exercise until you continue on with the next part. For the second short exercise, we're going to actually invert chords in isolation, like this. I'll play it a bit slower when we actually go through. And we're going to invert all the major chords from G flat through to B. The reason is because all the major chords within those notes have a different combination of black and white notes. And once we play through all 6 of those, we've actually got our hands around all the common shapes. With the fingering with these ones, you can have 1, 3, 5 for the opening shape. When you get to the first inversion, you can change to 1, 2, 5. And then when we get to second inversion, you can go back to 1, 3, 5. So we'll start with G flat, and I'm going to play each chord twice for this one. Great, well done. You've just gone through all the possible inversion shapes on the piano. This final exercise will take you through a musical progression where you'll learn all your major chord inversions in less than 10 minutes. So how this is going to work is I'm going to play a 1, 4, 5 progression like this. So that is starting at root position, then going to our second inversion shape because that's the smoothest way to get to our F, jump the shape up to G major, and then finish on a first inversion shape when we get to the C major again. We're going to repeat that twice to give you a chance to really familiarize those shapes. And then we're going to do the whole pattern again, but this time starting on the first inversion. But then that's going to take us to root, root, and then second inversion. And then we'll repeat that again. And then we'll get to second inversion, first inversion, first inversion, root. So you can see we're going to play that 1, 4, 5 6 times all up with those different inversions. And then we're going to do that over our 4 keys: C major, E flat major, G flat major, and A major. And the reason is because those 4 keys will give us all our major chords, and therefore we'll go through every single inversion for every single major chord. Pretty cool, hey? So this will only take us 10 minutes, but obviously it will take longer when you're starting out, so feel free to stop and start the video as you need to. I'll also do these with 4 chords per bar like this. If you're very new to this, you can just hold the chord for the bar. Just simulating what to do in the right hand here. But as you get familiar with these, you can start playing on each beat as well as you get more comfortable. Alright, you ready to go? Let's learn all our major chord inversions in less than 10 minutes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. congratulations, you've just learnt all your major chord inversions. So remember, if you found that challenging or you're a bit hesitant with some of those shapes, just stop and start the video. Make sure you've got them really under your fingers, because it will really pay off when you go to play your repertoire with the. Alright, where to from now? Well, adapt this exercise to minor chords. And I will do another video just guiding you through the minor exercise. But just remember, we haven't covered minor chords yet. So you may want to take yourself through these 3 exercises thinking about minor shapes. And then what I would aim to do is adapt these inversions to your repertoire. So that might mean going to ultimate guitar, picking out a song that you really like, and look at the chords there and see if you can find the smoothest chord inversions. So our common 1, 5, 6, 4 progression in pop music. See, I'm using chord inversions to get smoothly to those chords. And remember, depending on which inversion you start on, it might lead you to a whole different batch of shapes. So challenge yourself, pick out a song or some repertoire that you would really like to learn, and see if you can work out your inversions going from chord to chord. Don't expect them to come out naturally. You might need to think from a composer point of view and think, okay, if my next chord is G, what do I need to do here? I could go invert it up there. Oh, what was my earlier shape? Ah, good, that's a smooth inversion. So you may have to stop, break it down, work it out, and then practice it in context before it becomes natural. But believe me, if you do this constantly, if you get really used to the inversion process, eventually when you go to play a repertoire, they're just going to flow out really naturally. So it's really, really worth getting these exercises down.